My name is Joshua Smith. Last year, I spent 5.5 months in prison on remand with Just Stop Oil. I wrote the following speech, which I have now brought to you in video form. I've been protesting our government's inaction on the climate emergency for just less than 1 year. Since then, I've been arrested 24 times for taking part in disruptive, peaceful protests, and now I'm in prison on remand until potentially February. I actually spent 5.5 months held in that prison without a trial. I regret nothing. Before I was involved in these protests, I was working as a self-employed bricklayer. I was making good money, and my passions included salsa dancing and sailing. Life was good, and it was only getting better. I'd always had an interest in science and understanding on how things worked. In 2022, I came across Extinction Rebellion. They were talking about something called the climate crisis. They were saying it was the greatest threat that humanity had ever faced. I didn't want to just take their word for it, so I started to investigate the science behind the climate crisis myself. One of the most horrifying facts I came across was that there was 4 to 5 times the amount of CO2 and methane frozen in the Siberian permafrost than humans had ever released in all of human history combined. Just for a bit of context, in the last 200 years, since we started burning fossil fuels, we have doubled the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. As a result, we are seeing temperature records being smashed year on year, and most recently, 40 degrees in the UK. We have seen huge wildfires, droughts and crop failure all over the world. In 2019, we saw huge heat waves in Europe which caused a 30% drop in crop harvests. Last year in Canada, we saw a 50 degrees heat wave that destroyed 50% of the crop harvest in that country. And then just last month in April, India had a 62 degrees heat wave that killed 50% of all their crop harvests. India is the second largest exporter of food in the entire world, and they have just put a ban on the exportation of food out of their country through fears that they'll have food shortages for their own people. If the world's biggest food producers are losing half their harvest now, then what do you think will happen when we increase greenhouse gases in this atmosphere by 400% over a decade or two? We are looking at global crop failure. We have billions of people who don't know how to produce their own food and rely on it just being there in the supermarkets. If the global food trade collapses due to huge heat waves caused by the melting of the permafrost, then it will not matter how much money you have. All the supermarkets will be empty and you cannot eat your money. If this happens, then children alive in this very moment will grow up in a world on the brink of collapse, with temperature records being smashed year on year, massive wildfires, heat waves, droughts, crop failure, and ultimately empty shelves in Tesco's and Asda. It will mean you having to put your children and grandchildren to bed hungry and crying as you try to explain to them why they can't have any food right now. As you yourself feel sick with hunger, having given them what little food you had earlier that morning. The situation will be beyond repair, and you will have failed them in every sense of the word. I would bet my life that in that moment, you would give anything to be able to come back to this moment and do whatever you could to stop such a horrific future from unfolding for your children. Well, that is exactly what I am doing. I refuse to stand aside and let our children's futures burn. Because the nature of this problem, if you wait until the food shortages hit before you start making a fuss, it'll be too late and your children's futures will be sealed. This is why I'm protesting. This is why I've gone from having a great job, plenty of savings, no criminal record and a great social life to being arrested 24 times, getting a criminal record and being sent to prison. History has shown time and time again that going into civil resistance is the most effective way of bringing about huge societal changes, which is why me and my friends at Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil refuse to quit. This is the defining moment in human history. The eyes of all future generations are on us. We need to find the courage to act like it.